Hello my friends, and welcome to Wildfrost. If you click this video, I presume you are a newer player looking for some guidance, or maybe you just heard of this game, want to know what the fuss is about, so either way, I guarantee this video will be helpful to you, so welcome aboard. So what's the plan for this video? I am going to do a lot of yapping before we even leave town. I will talk about clans, leaders, pets, basically everything you need to know before you begin a playthrough as well. And we won't have time to do an entire run, but my plan is to go through a couple of fights, you know, like walk you through an actual playthrough, explain my thought process, and help you guys make maybe some informed decisions at each step, right? I want to do it this way because I think it'll be helpful to learn things in context and for you guys to see some practical scenarios as well. So let us kick it. So this is a guide, so maybe some form of credentials is necessary at this point. I don't know. I don't really have any credentials. My name is Runehug. That doesn't mean anything to you, nor should it. I'm just a guy. But if you trust me, I am a guy that can teach you about Wildfrost. I am by no means a master at this game. You know, there's a lot of people that are better than me at this game. However, I can teach the game, and I will teach you to be the best. Yeah, like no one ever was. So let's do it. Let me adjust myself in my chair here. Okay, let's begin. So this is the town. Yeah, you know the drill. You know, humanity has one last bastion against the never-ending winter. We did this story with Frostpunk. We did this with Snowpiercer, the movie with Chris Evans. We did this with Snowpiercer, the TV show with Jennifer Connelly. And now we're doing it again with Wildfrost in the form of a card game roguelike. So the town really here is just a couple of menus that will give you things to unlock. You know, you're not going to have access to all these buildings right away, but if you just keep following along the tutorial prompts, you'll fix everything up in no time. It's a good form of direction for the game, right? If you don't know what else to do, just look at the various buildings and they'll give you like little quests and little tidbits, right, to help you along, right? So main things to look at here are at the very top. These are like challenge stones. These are like various unlocks. These are called charms. That doesn't mean anything to you right now, but it's another form of progression. You'll want to unlock these as fast as possible. There are like various buffs and things for your run. It's not meta progression. You don't take anything with you to future runs, but within the context of the run, you'll definitely want to pick up as many of these as possible to augment your characters and your items and stuff, right? So I will go over this more into detail later, but I just wanted to show you that this exists. It's kind of tucked away at the top here. What else is neat here? Oh, I could show you guys pets. For some of you, this might be the first time you're ever looking at what a Wildfrost card looks like, so look away. It's a very, very cute game. I mean, just right off the rip, right? Just aesthetically, it's got a certain vibe to it. It's very cozy. It's very comfy. I just love the look of this game. It's one of the reasons I just keep coming back to it, right? So I will go over pets, I think, a little bit later. Maybe I think the best order is... Sorry, I'm kind of doing this off the cuff a little bit, as if you couldn't already tell. But I will do, like, I think difficulty, I'll do clans, I'll do leaders, and I'll do pets. I think those are the things that you need to know in order, or rather, before you leave town. So let's do it in that order, okay? Before I forget. Let us talk about difficulty, first and foremost, okay? So, when you start the game, you're not going to have any difficulty modifiers that you can apply. You're just going to do a vanilla, sort of naked run of the game, right? But very, very soon, you're going to unlock this Storm Bell system. And this system are just negative modifiers that you can add to your run, okay? Every modifier has a sort of point strength here. So I'll just, as an example, this bell upgrades some enemies in a certain region of the game. And this gives you 2 points on this sort of totem pole, okay? Now, the magic number here is 10. It's 10 because 10 is what unlocks the sort of true ending of the game, and it is what I would argue to be sort of the intended difficulty of the game, right? So for the purposes of this video and for any future Wildfrost videos, I will be playing on this 10 bell difficulty. Now, the nice thing is you don't have to use this exact configuration that I am using. You can sort of mix and match and swap things around as long as it gets to 10, right? So you can randomize here as well. You don't have to use this configuration. And I'm not going to go over all the modifiers here. That would take too long. But I'm going to keep these on. And then in the context of the run, if they show up and if I remember, that's when I'll talk about them, okay? One last thing difficulty-wise, what you can do here later on is you can crank this bell here. and it's quite literally called Overcrank. So this is the hardest difficulty of the game. It goes from 10 to 22 bells, and there is no achievement for doing this. There's no unlock, there's no, like, you know, trophy for this. This is purely for the purposes of, like, if you are a player that wants extra challenge, you can turn on all the bells at once. Now, I've done this before, I know how to do it. I personally don't like playing on this difficulty. It sort of, you know, limits your options, and it requires, honestly, a little bit more brain power than I would like to put into this game. So, if I wanted to try hard a game like this, I'd probably go play, like, Slice and Dice or something. Check out my Slice and Dice videos on this channel, by the way. And so I'm going to turn this off for now. I will say, my first and only complaint about this game that I will do in this video is that you can pull the bell, but pulling this thing doesn't activate the overcrank menu. You have to click it. Isn't that a crime? That's a crime, right? You should be able to pull it. Anyway, that's a, you know, a little bit of an oversight. I know it's depressing. Some of you may wish to leave now, but I guarantee you the game gets better. It gets better from here, I promise. Please stick with me. Okay, let's talk about clans. They're not called clans, they're called tribes. Let's talk about tribes. I should use the right nomenclature. You know what? There is actually a building in the town that can explain the tribes as better than I could. Look at this, very, very cute. So this is the first decision you have to make of any run, is you choose which tribe. Every tribe has their own starting deck, and they have their own units that you can select, so entirely different playstyles, right? So at the beginning, you only have access to the Snow Dwellers. These are, you know, your vanilla clan, right? But they have all kinds of different effects. They have, you know, damage over time. They have different buffs and debuffs. Hard to describe them in one word, really, but they're jack of all trades kind of thing. But by no means are they a boring clan. I've had some of my craziest runs with this clan, and you get access to a lot of really cool tools right off the bat, even if you're a new player. So nothing wrong with playing this clan. Next, we'll talk about the Shademancers. This is definitely my favorite clan thematically. They've got this whole, like, shadow thing going on with the different masks. It's very, very cool looking clan. Their whole shtick is that they have summons. So they can summon all these little units, right? And worst case scenario, they're like little, like, chump blockers, if you're familiar with that term, right? Little units that can absorb big hits and sort of tank for you. But there's also really neat things you can do with them. You can, like, there's like the sacrifice package, right? Where you can kill your own units in order to, like, buff other units or create other sort of buffs on your units, right? So it's got a really cool game plan there. That's their whole shtick. And then last but not least, we have the Clunk Masters. These guys are your sort of your gnomes, your tinkerers. They have this whole system of, like, junk. Yeah, creating and recycling junk. So junk is this card in your hand that doesn't do anything. It's got, like, 0 attack. It's got no effect. But you can manipulate it in certain ways to give you an advantage. Like, for example, you can, like, discard it to draw other cards, or you can, like, smack a unit with the junk to buff its attack or stuff like that, right? So all sorts of, like, different gizmos and gadgets and stuff like that. Very, very cool clan. Definitely a little bit more advanced, but a lot of little neat toys that you can play with. So that's the clans. I keep saying clans, tribes. You get the point. But for the purpose of this video, I will stick with the Snow Dwellers because they are the starter clan. Now, you have to choose the leader of your clan, okay? We've got Rod, we've got Moral Bark, and we've got Muckfall. They're randomly generated names. Very cute. You can rename them later, by the way. Okay, but the leaders. So this is a physical unit that you're going to be putting on the field, and this leader is your lose condition, which means if your leader's HP reaches 0, you will lose the run instantly. Okay? There's no resurrection, there's no second chance, nothing. If you lose your leader, you lose the run instantly, okay? Now, they're your lose condition, but they're not necessarily your win condition. So you don't have to pick a leader, like, in that sense. So what I mean is that, like, there are definitely leaders that can sort of carry you even up until the final fight and at the final fight, for sure. But I think a lot of the time, your leader is just kind of a vehicle. It's sort of like an early game, mid-game vehicle to get you through the game, really. And someone else down the line, you'll pick up other units and you'll pivot onto those other units, right? So it's okay if they're just good early on. How do you choose a good leader? That's a good question. So let's take a look at a card's parameters. So we can right-click a card here and it'll show different effects. So this leader is a 2-10-5. So whenever I say card statistics, it will always be in that order. It's attack, its health, and its counter. So attack and health, pretty straightforward, but counter is something we have to talk about. So this is how quickly a unit will act. It's kind of like its cooldown. So basically what this is saying is that in 5 turns, this unit is going to deal 2 damage, and it's going to do its effect. In this case, it's going to apply 3 snow. Snow is an effect that actually freezes enemy counters, and in this case, it's for 3 turns, okay? So every 5 turns, it's going to do this thing. I would say, as a general rule of thumb, 4 is like an average counter. If you want sort of like a benchmark, 4 is a good number for a counter. 5 is like a little slower, but it's definitely playable. Anything above 5, yeah, I can speak English. Anything above 5 is definitely on the slower side. You definitely want to have like a plan to maybe sort of accelerate that, or maybe not really play with your leader long term. And then anything below 4, I would say that it's a fast counter. So that's what counter is explained. I'll explain, of course, what that actually means in the context of a fight when we get to a fight. But that's the leaders. It would take a long time for me to explain so much about what makes a leader good, really. I would say the main thing is the counter, and then also health, really. When in doubt, pick a leader with higher health. The magic number for the 10 bell final fight is 8. The reason is 8 is because it's above a certain threshold for a certain attack. I don't want to spoil too much. It's not really relevant to most of the people watching this video. But if you're the type of person that wants a benchmark, I would say that your run will be more comfortable if your leader has a health value of 8 or higher. Okay? So that's a little nugget of wisdom for you there. Do you want to like quickly look at the other leaders just to see what they look like? We got my boy Jay Lee here. That's my that's my favorite rapper. Jay Lee. We've got Zalzu here, lesser known rapper. We've got Caburn here. Look at the aesthetic though, huh? The masks, they look very, very cool, very, very sleek. And then we got meanwhile we got Ron, Stan, and Bilbert. We got the 3 Stooges over here. These goofy looking guys. So yeah, you can have a lot of fun with this. Again, we're just gonna stick with what you folks will have access to, and let's go with Muckfall for no other reason as that he's a basic unit, and this guy's got like 16 HP for some reason. Oh, I should explain what this guy, what this extra HP is. So this is Shell. It's a form of HP that's just, it's functionally equivalent to health. It's the same thing, but in certain contexts, it's like it could be a buff or a debuff. Like for example, there are units in this game that like scale off of Shell. If I have more Shell, I'll do more damage. Or maybe there's a card where like it reduces health. In this case, a health reduction would go right to health and it won't touch the Shell, right? So that's the reason that's there. Okay, so we will pick Muckfall and let us go. Okay, let us talk about pets. Pets, companions, whatever you want to call them. This is a unit that you take with you at the very beginning of the run. And at the beginning, you will only have access to Snoof, but you will have little side quests to unlock these other ones later. Snoof is a very, very solid character. He is a 3/3/3, and every 3 turns, he will attack, and he will apply 1 snow. So early game, he's good, and even late game, he's very solid as just a form of crowd control, right? Snow remains to be one of the strongest effects in the entire game all throughout, right? Being able to lock down an enemy unit for a turn is very, very powerful, right? So Snoof is very, very good. If you want my opinion on the best pet, in my opinion, there is a very clear best pet. I don't think I should talk about it. Okay, you know what I will do? That's like an entire section. I could go on for a long time about the best pet and why I think that is. I'm going to save that for the end of the video. I'll go more into all of the pets. How's that? So if you're interested in hearing me talk about it, there'll be a section at the end of the video. If you don't care about that, we can move on. We can move on right now. I'm just going to go pick Snoof, and here we go. Let's do it. Okay, so this is the overworld. Not much to look at right now. So in fact, maybe I won't even explain this right now. I'll wait till we finish our first fight, because honestly, I'm just itching to get into battle, and maybe you guys are as well. So let's talk about combat. And ooh, we have the gnome. That's interesting. Okay, so one thing at a time here. Okay, I'm gonna try not to get too ahead of myself. So what is happening? This is the battlefield, okay? It's divided into 2 segments. You can kind of think of this as like the line of scrimmage here where my cursor is. Think of it as sort of like a game of volleyball, I guess. I guess they're flipped. But anyway, you have your own grid of 3x2. The enemies have theirs. At any point during your turn, you can just kind of move your unit around for free. They'll default to the front, but when you have additional units, some will get pushed to the back like this. Okay, let's go one thing at a time here. So let's look at the top left first. So these are the negative modifiers that I was talking about earlier. At any point in your run, you can hover over this to see which bells you took, in case you forgot. Also, very importantly, you can ding this bell at any point, just like you can ding that like button. Oh, that's not how it goes. It's it's ding the notification bell and smash the like button. God damn it. Anyway, whatever. Hit the like button, leave a comment for the algorithm. You know how it is. Okay, great. So that's that. Bottom left, you can see the money you have for the run. We have no money. You can see the deck. This is the total number of cards that we have, the whole roster of our deck. At the very bottom, you can see the cards that we currently have in our hand. You can click this to see which cards that we have not drawn yet, and you can click this to see our discard pile, which is of course empty because we have not played any cards. Now, on the bottom right, you will see the number 4. This is the redraw bell. This is a very, very critical mechanic of this game. So what this is saying is that when I click this button, if I click it right now, I will discard my entire hand and I will draw 6 new cards. Now this bell is not charged, which means that if I click this right now, it's going to consume my entire turn. It's going to take 1 turn to do this. That's the downside. You charge this bell simply by waiting additional turns. Once 4 turns has elapsed, the icon will change and you will be able to click this button for free. Okay, so you're incentivized to play out 4 cards first before you click this. Now, a large part of the skill expression of this game comes from understanding when to preemptively click this redraw bell and not get sort of tunnel visioned in trying to maximize value, right? There'll be a lot of spots where I'm like, I'm going to try to play all 4 cards so I can get the free redraw, but there'll be some instances where you just simply draw like a dead hand, right? There's like nothing really to do, nothing really to play. Maybe you don't draw your units, just like I did here. I didn't draw my my pet, and I want to go down a turn just so that I can get to my units faster, right? So that's a decision that you'll have to constantly make throughout the course of the run, and something to be mindful of. And I guess my first mean piece of advice really is don't be afraid of pressing it early in the fight, even on turn 1, if your hand doesn't look good. Okay, great. Top right here where there's the pause menu, you don't need to know that. This is the, there's a combat log. You can click here. That's very, very useful. There's this eye. Oh, okay. This eye will make more sense when I talk about turn order. So, the battlefield. So the first thing you have to see here is that you will look for the enemy counter that's the lowest number. So the first thing the enemy is going to do is that in 3 turns, this Snulf will perform his action. He's going to hit me for 1, and he's going to apply 2 snow. Okay. Shortly after that, the next turn, this Grouchy is going to do his thing. Okay. They always attack in the sort of like W, not really a W, but basically it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, if you follow my cursor, ally units will also attack in a reverse formation. They'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you forget that, you can click this eye and it will tell you the order of operations here. Very, very useful. Okay. Now, I should talk about this gnome who's just sitting here. You guys have been very, very curious about this gnome. This is a pure coincidence. This is like randomly and rarely on turn 1 of the first fight in this game, you may encounter this gnome. I don't really want to spoil what this gnome does. I feel like I shouldn't spoil it. All I'll say is that you can try to keep him alive. You can try to keep him alive and see what happens. Okay, we'll leave that. Or don't. He drops money if you kill him. So, that's morality aside. I'll leave you to make that decision. So, that's the gnome. And this big other 4 in the right hand side, this is the wave bell. This, you can hover over it and it will tell you that enemy reinforcements are arriving in 4 turns. There are 2 enemies arriving in 4 turns. Now I can actually smack this preemptively if I want to call units before this timer. Now why do I want to do that? There might be some instances where like I have like an attack lined up and I don't want to waste it, right? I want to sort of keep the pace. Definitely if you don't know what you're doing, I would advise against clicking this, but definitely hover over it just so you can see what sort of reinforcements are approaching. Okay. Sorry, that's the sort of UI elements out of the way, and we can actually move on to playing the video game now. Okay. You know what I'll do is I will actually hit the redraw bell just to show you guys what happens. So pay attention to the turn timers here. I'm going to click this. That will consume my turn, and everything's going to tick down 1. Okay. We do this so that we can have access to Snoof early. And this is, I guess, maybe a golden rule of combat. And is that you want to develop your units early. The reason is that you want to start their turn timers early, their counters, right? It's kind of like in chess, right, where you want to develop your pieces early to get them active early, to take control of space early. It's the same idea. Now, as you get better at the game, you'll realize that you have very limited time and turns, and maybe you don't have time to play a unit early. There might be something else you want to do, a certain buff you might want to apply. You'll have other things to do, right? But until you know what you're doing, I would say a rule of thumb is to get your units down early so they can start doing things for you, okay? All right. Now, this Snoof is going to go and attack. What are our options here? Because here's the thing, the damage doesn't matter so much, but you have to look at the card text. This is going to freeze the unit that it's attacking for 2 turns, which is definitely a little bit dubious. Now, you'll see in my hand, I have all these different options. Let's kind of go over them super quickly. I have this snow stick. This does 1 damage, but it applies 2 snooze. So it's kind of like it's like a pocket snoof. This is like a weaponized version of this dog here, right? So we can chuck this at this guy to freeze him. That's a good option. We can throw Woodhead here. So Woodhead, he has a different kind of health. This is scrap health. What scrap health is like, regardless of the value of the incoming attack, this is always going to go down by 1. So Woodhead can take any 1 hit. No matter if it's 1 damage or 100 damage, he can take any 1 hit. If he had 2 scrap, he could take any 2 hits, right? So we could block this, specifically if we wanted to avoid the freeze, you know, we could do that. We can use Sunrod here to accelerate our turn timer. So this counts down our counter by 2. So if I could do this right now on Snoof, and he would actually go immediately and freeze the enemy Snoof before he gets to attack us, right? So right off the bat, even just with the starting hand, turn 1, no additional cards, there's a lot of options at play here. We also just have this basic sword that we can smack something for 2 if we wanted, right? So what do you guys like here? You know what, I actually kind of like throwing our own snow stick into the Snoof. I think it's the most non-committal option. What this does is that not only does it stop the Snoof from doing his snow effect, but it sets him to 3, which is the perfect value for our Snoof to get the kill here. Okay, great. Now, I'm not too scared of this Grouchy's attack. Grouchy is saying, while damaged, the attack value is increased by 2. So I'm sort of incentivized to let him attack first before I smack him with anything. If I were to smack him with this sword now, he's going to hit my hero for 4, right? So you really have to look at the landscape, and I don't want to say, you know, just read the text forehead, but really this is a game where it's like, you know, one thing you miss, one keyword you don't read, or, you know, one card text you don't look properly, and the run is over. That's this kind of game. It's like one mistake punishes you. You really need to kind of assess what is the big picture, what is going on in the battlefield, right? And if you're lost anywhere, main thing to look at is again, the counters. This is the thing that's going to be happening now, okay, immediately, and you go from there. Okay, great. All this yapping, so much yapping, I'm very sorry, but this is the first fight, so lots of things to cover. So let's let that play out. I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to set up multi-kill. Let's talk about multi-kills. So when you kill an enemy, you're going to get money. The main way to make additional money in this game is to set up multi-kills. So what you can do is I can smack this gnome with a sword, killing the gnome, and on the same turn, once I'm done with my action, this Snoof is going to attack and kill this Snoof, and you'll see an X2, and you'll see some extra money go into my bank account. So watch this. I'm sorry, this is purely instructional purposes. I'm very, very sorry. I have nothing against gnomes, but check this out. That's a 2x combo, and I've got additional money in my bank account. There was a +5 there. So that's a big part of Wildfrost, especially early on. You want to try to set up as many multi-kills as possible to gain money, and money early on will snowball into a much easier time later. So a lot of times when you see me take a long time on a turn, it's not because I don't know how to solve the turn. Well, sometimes it is, I don't know how to solve it, but a lot of time it's me saying, okay, I know how to solve this, but now it's how do I solve this and make the most money, okay? That's a big part of this game. Okay, good transition into speaking about money. We have the goblin who just showed up. Now, this is a little fella who shows up in every fight, and he's very unique. So you'll notice right away, he doesn't have an attack value. He doesn't actually hurt you. What happens is that in 4 turns, he's going to just leave. He's straight up just going to leave, okay? Exit stage right. But what you want to try to do is hit him as many times as possible before he leaves, okay? You can freeze him as well, stop him in his tracks. You can do all sorts of things, right? You can treat him as a regular enemy. Now, where you don't want to mess up is that you don't want to get carried away. Every resource you expend into the goblin is of course a resource you don't have for the fight proper. So you really want to make sure that you're good and you're not under any threat before you commit resources into this goblin, okay? And if you are good, then by all means, smack away and make your money, okay? Great, excellent. What do I want to do in this hand? What I want to do is I want to smack this goblin. I will actually demonstrate what I was preaching here. I will freeze him, and I'm going to smack him for 1. And I'm going to let my hero put 3 into this Grouchy here. Check this out. Look at that. And there's the attack going up to 4 because the Grouchy's damaged. And now you'll see this this flashing icon here, this redraw bell has activated. So while I can put a Woodhead down if I wanted to, this is a good time to press the redraw bell. So I can get a fresh hand, and I can immediately start the new sort of redraw timer here, right? So that's sort of like the pace of the game, the tempo of the game, right? It's very important to keep an eye on this redraw bell, okay? Good, great. Any questions? This is a one-way experience, so even if you had questions, you can't ask me. But listen, if I'm missing something, hopefully this pace is okay. If I'm missing something in combat, or if you have a specific question, please by all means leave a comment down below, and I will get to it as soon as I can. Okay, great. So let's talk about the fight. What's happening now? Again, chaos of the fight. If you can't see through the chaos, look for the turn timers. The lowest number here is Snoop. So the first thing that's going to happen is that in 2 turns, Snoop is going to do his effect. Great. He's also going to act before the Grouchy, so if I wanted to, I can have Snoop go and kill the Grouchy without any repercussions. That honestly looks good. What I'm going to do now, is, before I forget, is I'm actually going to set up this Woodhead here. Because one thing that you'll notice, and I didn't talk about, is quietly, slowly, this Winter Worm is counting down. And alarmingly, he has a very, very high attack value. Now, his card effect plays in our favor. It's saying every time he's hit, it reduces his attack by 1. So if I had a lot of like quick, fast multi-attacks, I could whittle this guy down, not only HP-wise, but also attack-wise, right? But in this case, I don't really have that, and in 4 turns, I don't really have a solution for him. So my solution is Woodhead. This is a very, very high value play early on, and it's a very common play you're going to make early, is that you're going to throw your Woodhead down, specifically for the express purposes of tanking this first Winter Worm hit. And it's gonna, he has a very long counter of 6, right? It's gonna bring you more than enough time to deal with him later down the road. Okay, great. I didn't talk about this Flame Water card. This simply increases your attack by 1. Not particularly used for early on, but there'll be heroes later on in the game that have like sort of multiplicative effects, so you can get like double, triple value out of this effect. Something to keep in mind later. Okay, great. I am going to smack the Goblin, and we're gonna kill off the Grouchy. Excellent. Now this is flashing red, the wave is coming in the next turn. Something to keep in mind. I can put the Woodhead up here. And positioning. This is something, again, I talked about briefly, but now that you see 3 units, you can sort of see the different positioning, sort of, I guess, permutations that you can do. We want to make sure that Woodhead is positioned in front to tank this attack. Do not do this, do this. Okay, great, excellent. Small point, but thought worth mentioning. Okay, great. Let us... I'm going to really greed this fight. I'm going to keep smacking this Goblin around because I really do... like money. I enjoy money. And here we have our first little boss. We have the Snow Knight. Okay. Again, right-clicking, very, very useful tool. You can right-click any card to see its parameters. Okay, so this is a 1-10-2. Very, very fast counter is the first thing to notice. Low attack, but it's saying here, whenever anything is snowed, I gain attack. So this applies to enemies applying snow and us applying snow. It's a global effect, okay? So he'll scale up over time. And then we have the little baby Snowball. Look how cute he is, man. So heckin' cute. He's so determined. Our little 1-1-2. Anyway, sorry. Get lost in the sauce there. What do we want to do? We have both of these guys are attacking on the same turn timer. Eventually, I do need to deal with this Winter Worm. Not necessarily. You can move all your units top lane and go to the Snow Knight, which is a consideration. You have to kind of juggle in the early game when to know... to get out of a fight, so to speak. So it's like, your goal isn't to kill everything, necessarily. Your goal is to kill the enemy leader, right? So if the position is good, you're ahead, then maybe you want to look to kill as many enemy units as possible, even set up multi-kills, right? To get maximum value, clear the board, right? And it's all good there. But if you're in maybe a bad spot, things are looking a little rough, maybe you want to accelerate and just go right for the Snow Knight and just kind of ignore the bottom lane here, right? So you really have to look at your positioning, how healthy you are, what attacks are coming up, right? Are you comfortable enough to stay in the fight longer, right? So greed is good, especially early, but there's a limit, of course, right? So let's take a look at the fight here. So Winter Worm is going to be attacking in 2 turns. I'm not too concerned about that. I would like to set up a multi-kill on the Goblin and Snowbow. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to smack this Snowbow down. Even though this is like an obvious play. Hey, it immediately gets the unit out of the field in one go. What I'm going to do is do that next turn. Okay, because I want to do that next turn, I need to play something else in my hand though. So what I will do instead is I will Sunrod Snoop, get him to go once. I'll buy an additional turn for the Winter Worm. You'll see that I did increase the attack value of the Snow Knight, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to hit the redraw bell now because I'm confident that I'm going to draw into more Scrappy Swords. If I was less confident, what you can do is check your deck to see what cards you're about to draw in case you need a specific card. And okay, let's reevaluate the field. So look at the flashing ones. There are 3 things that are happening on this turn. The Snow Knight is going to be attacking first and foremost. And in fact, why don't we press this I that I was talking about, and we can see the exact order of operations. So from start to finish, the Knight is going to first attack my hero for 2 damage. Then the Snowboat is going to attack this Woodhead. Immediately, I know that I don't want that to happen. So why don't I do this? Right away, just, you know, for peace of mind. And then my hero is going to attack for 3. So I'm going to do what I said earlier, is I'm going to set up this multi-kill. So I'm going to hover this over just to double check everything, double, triple check. Okay, everything looks good. Kill the Snowboat. My hero gets smacked, and we smack back the Goblin, and we pick up a nice little multi-kill there. Great. Now, here comes that Winter Worm attack, but we are ready for this. We have our Woodhead primed and ready to take this attack. And now, we can just kind of pile on snow onto the Snow Knight here. I can just keep stacking additional snow here, as you can see, right? And this is a position where I really don't want to deal with the Winter Worm. I think for this case, I'm just gonna go ahead and kill the Snow Knight and get out of this fight. And we're out. Excellent. Now, that I would say is the fight. There are at each street there are different fights you can take. This won't always be your fight 1. This is the worst in terms of making money. There are other ones that can make you a little bit more money. They have lots of more little units to get multi-kills off of. So I would say ballpark, I would say 70 is good to walk out of the first fight with. Anything less than 70 is below average. Anything more than 70 is above average, I would say, as a base plate. You can make up to like $100 actually in the first fight. It's possible. Usually I can comfortably walk out with like $70, $80 in the first fight, especially if I make some different decisions there. But again, for the purposes of this video, nice and slow, nice and easy. 60 is nothing to sneeze at. It's just fine. Okay, that's the first fight. Lots of talking. I'm gonna go drink water. And we arrive back at the Overworld. Okay, again, anytime you can look at your deck. Ooh, we can also press this eye thing. I don't know if this is gonna spoil the final fight. Okay, what this telescope does is that it allows you to peek and see what the final fight is, so that anytime in the run you can actually you know, maybe make some certain decision and be like, oh shoot, that's coming up, so I might want to get this card instead, right? So I think in this case it might spoil something. So I'm not gonna click this, but I just want you guys to know that this is here. Okay, great. Okay, we are at a crossroads. We're literally at a fork in the road. So the next battle is here. I have to use a decision. I have to either go the top path or the bottom path here. It's kind of just like Slay the Spire. You know, a lot of other roguelikes has this system here. So how do you go about choosing a path? First of all, what are these nodes? The first thing to look at is this is the Frozen Traveler's node. This node will give you a unit draft. It'll allow you to pick a unit from 3 options. Early on, this is very, very good. You want to pick up units early because they will give you direction for your run, right? Picking certain units early would be like, oh shoot, it's this unit. Okay, now all of a sudden my game plan is going to be heavily centered around this thing, most likely, right? So I, as a rule of thumb, like to get double units very, very early on. So no matter which path I take, I'm going to end up on a unit. But if I go bottom path, I'm going to get 2 units. Okay. This node is a treasure. All treasure means is that it's a card that's not a unit, right? So it's going to be like an item card. It could be another clunker. These are called clunkers, by the way, with the scrap health. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it'll be a card that we can add to our deck. Okay. Versus the top path has no additional traveler, but instead it has this money cave. This is literally just going to give me a cash infusion on the spot, payday loan. Okay, straight to your wallet. It's not a loan. You can keep the money. It's not as nefarious as that. I think I will go bottom path. I will take my own word and I will go bottom path. I like to see more units. Okay. Look at the card art. It's so cool. Very, very cool. Sorry, I love the art in this game. I'm not going to go over what everything does. because now we're at a point where like there's going to be so many different decisions. Obviously your units are not going to be these same units. You're going to see different things. There's a whole lot more I could talk about in terms of like macro strategy of this game, what to pick and why. You want to be picking things for a reason, right? You want to be picking things, if your early game is strong, then maybe you want to be picking things that give you more of a late game out. If your early game is weak, then maybe you want to pick things that don't necessarily have late game potential, but will just get you through the early game. But honestly, at the beginning, just pick what looks cool. Just try stuff. Just pick whatever you want. I'm just going to pick Gojibur. Look at this dude. This guy was new, added in the latest patch. He is a 0/7 reaction card. So lots to talk about here. Let's talk about him. Immediately, you'll see that he has no attack, but his card text is saying he will deal additional damage equal to his health. And he is a smackback unit. A smackback unit is a counter unit. It's a reactive unit. So while he doesn't actually operate on his own turn timer, he's not a proactive unit, anytime that he is attacked, he will strike back for his current health value. So of course, now the gears are maybe turning, right? If you have a way to increase this guy's health, he will double up in value, right? He'll obviously get the health buff, but suddenly he'll be doing more damage as well, right? So a lot of decisions in this game will be centered around the idea of like, squeezing out additional value, right? It's like a card is saying, hey, I'll give you this neat thing. And you're like, wait a second. If I combine this neat thing with this unit, suddenly I'm outputting additional value, right? So that's the idea, right? If I, as we go through the run, I'll see if I can make those connections and try to get some synergies going, right? So anyway, that is Gojibur. Let's move on and find ourselves a nice little item. Okay. Mobile campfire, bling bank, and blaze tea. Money. Hey, this is a clunker that's saying if you drop me down on the field, and as long as I'm on the field, I will give you $4 whenever an enemy is killed. He does nothing other than that, but he makes you money. Honestly, early game, pretty tempting to pick up. Let's take a look here. Okay. Right off the bat, I can tell you that this hero is not is not going to be getting us anywhere late game. This is purely a vessel to get us through the early game. There's nothing special about this hero. There's nothing scaling, he's just a big, solid dude, okay? So what that means is that I need to find an alternate win condition. It could be Gojibur. It could be. Is there anything that uniquely plays into Gojibur? Blaze Tea will give him an extra attack. It's an attack multiplier, but it increases his countdown. And actually, this is sort of a niche interaction here, but you will not be able to use this on Gojibur because he doesn't actually have a counter. So this is something that you'll make this mistake once and you'll be like, ah, shoot, I didn't know that, but I'm glad I made that mistake because it's something that every player runs into. There'll be a lot of points in the game where you'll pick something because it looks neat and you realize you can't actually put it onto your unit because it doesn't have something or other, right? Maybe there'll be a thing that like buffs attack, but you'll have a unit that doesn't have an attack value, right? So things like that you really have to kind of watch out for. Hard to say everything off the rip, but it just comes with experience. Why don't we just take money, dude? I'm a greedy bastard. We will take money and let's go look at a traveler here. Ooh. I recall earlier in the video talking about this unit. Not directly, I didn't mention him, but this was the unit I was talking about. So this guy is saying he deals additional damage equal to his shell. So the higher this value is, the more damage he's going to pump up, right? So honestly, kind of very similar in effect to Gojibur, right? Where the higher his defensive value is, the more damage he's pumping out, right? We have Jumbo and Bomb Bomb. Ooh, some heavy hitters here. You know what? Ooh, this is the first. This feels like the first major decision point here. Okay, I can tell you that Bomb Bomb is a unit that can very, very easily stomp through the early game. This is a big powerhouse of a unit that does a lot of self damage, but just really obliterates the board. It has this sort of barrage effect, which hits all targets in the row. Okay, so you could be getting 7, 14, 21 damage off of one attack. I think what I will do is I will go Bomb Bomb. Our little Pirate Queen? I don't know. I see eye patch and I think pirate. I don't think she's a pirate, but we love her all the same. Okay, let's get into the next fight. Again, I won't have time to complete a full run, but I want to go through at least a couple fights and explain my thought process and get you guys comfortable with at least the first few fights. Okay, let's begin. Let's begin. Let me take water and we will begin. What do I see here? I see Frostinger. This is a unit that doesn't have a high attack value, but he has this very dangerous effect. Every time he attacks, he's reducing my own attack by 1 here, and then he's supported by this Mimic. What this Mimic is saying is that, hey, I don't attack by myself, but I trigger when an ally in the row attacks. So it's another reaction, right? It's a reactive thing. He'll do something if something else happens, right? So you can say that this, all in all, when this goes off, I'm going to be taking 3 damage and my attack is going to be lowered by 1. Okay, that's what you have to see there. And another thing you have to see there is that it's the row. So when the Porcupine attacks, the Mimic is not going to trigger because it's not in the same row, this lateral row here. Okay, great, excellent. Now, if I want to be really greedy, I should put this bling back out now so I can start my sort of passive income farm. But that's a little suspicious. You notice that I didn't draw any of my units. All 3 units I bottom decked. So this is a position definitely where I would heavily consider pressing the redraw bell, even at the expense of this money. As much as I like money, I like my life more. So I think I will do that. I think a lot of new players in that spot would just kind of play cards. I know because I was a new player in that spot and I just played cards. But I think that's a case where, listen, let's take our own advice and let's get our units down nice and early so we can start doing things, okay? That's very important. What do I want to do first? How am I going to tank this first row? I think what I will do is I will play Gojibur in this first row because he will absorb this attack nicely and I'll also pick up the Mimic. I can do that later. At the beginning, I'm going to go play Bomb Bomb because I want to get her turn timer started right off the rip. And something to consider here is that when Bomb Bomb's about to go off, I need to have a plan for where my units are going to be, okay? So in 3 turns, she's going to be dealing 5 damage to herself and all the allies in the row. So if Snoof was in the row, Snoof would get obliterated. Just straight barbecued, okay? So we have to be very, very careful with that. Have a plan for later. In this case, I'm going to play Gojibur in the top row. He's going to tank these attacks, and he's going to actually smack back and kill that Mimic for free. So that's a nice little bit of value here. I could take Gojibur here to get some value and pop 2 damage into the Porcupine, but honestly, Gojibur health is kind of low already, and I wanted to keep tanking the Frostinger. So what I'll do is I think I will utilize my leader's health. Remember, you know, you want to be trying to spread damage throughout your heroes. Try to make the most of your heroes, right? Like, just because, you know, a unit is a tank doesn't mean they have to take all the damage, right? And vice versa. You want to be trying to cycle your units out and try to make the most of your HP. Keep rotating, keep getting value out of your HP. So in this case, my unit is a big dumb dude. I'm going to let him take a hit. It's just 2 damage. Nothing too concerning. Now, in this case, I want to be careful playing another unit because of what I said prior. I want to make sure that I have a plan for Bomb Bomb, and I think I do. So watch this. I'm going to be playing Snoof here. I'll take the 2. A fresh enemy row spawned, and this is a perfect time for Bomb Bomb. So, a fresh row spawned, and now Bomb Bomb has this barrage prime. So she can wipe out any row I choose, really. I could wipe out the entire top row. Advantage, I get a 3x multi-kill. Disadvantage, I don't get the full value out of the Gobbling because I'm only hitting it once. Bottom row advantage, let's see. I wipe out these 2 units, but I leave this guy at 1 HP. Not really a problem. I can throw in a Scrappy Sword to get that same multi-kill. So, how do we want to play this? I think I like hitting Bomb Bomb into the bottom row, and then maybe using Scrappy Sword on that Ice Lantern. You could Scrappy Sword a whole bunch of things here in this case. I think I will go for that Ice Lantern. Yeah, and then let Hero put 3 into the Frostinger. Okay, let's do it like this, so check this out. Nice. Nice little pickup there. Bomb Bomb resets. This 2 is about to hit. I can even look to get another multi-kill in. Do I want to put this Snow Stick into the Gobbling? I might, actually. I might do. You know, one thing we haven't done, something to consider, is that I could redraw and try to find Bling back now to start, because now the board is stabilized, and I can sort of greed out a little bit more. So check this out. I'm going to do this. I don't hit the Bling Bank. I don't hit it. So that's unlucky. I have bottom decked twice in a row. That's okay. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. If you're more studious, again, before you hit the redraw bell, you can look at your deck and kind of calculate the odds, right? And see whether or not something is guaranteed. I'm not going to sweat that much right now, but it's something to consider. So what do we want to do here instead? I think we can pick up a nice little double kill here. I can not let this Frostinger attack. I can let Snoop pick up the bottom one. We can do this. And I can put 1 freeze into the Goblin here and prevent it from leaving. Okay, This wave is about to spawn, and this bomb was placed at a great time here. You'll see that it's the same situation here, right? The wave's gonna spawn, and then bomb has another barrage primed and ready to go. So, very, very good foresight by me. Thank you very much. Very intentional, definitely, to do that. But seriously, it's something to consider, right? If I had played Bomb a turn earlier, then the syncing wouldn't have lined up, right? The sync of the turn and the attack. So a little bit maybe of a higher level concept, something to think about, syncing your attack with the wave bell, right? But in general, as long as you get your units down early, you should be just fine. Okay. Nothing really to do here other than smack the goblin, I think. You could redraw now. Now that I have a breath of fresh air, I could redraw now just to kind of replenish and try to find my my bling bank, my freezes, right? But I think I'll just smack the goblin. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Here comes the ringer. The ringer says, when I am hit, I will apply 2 frost to a random enemy. I didn't even mention the name of this keyword, by the way. This is something that it's very easy to get confused by. So we talked about snow early. Snow is the thing that actually freezes the enemy in place. So that's like the stun, so to speak. Where frost is a negative attack debuff. So I know it can be definitely confusing. I got this confused a lot at the beginning, but that's just how it is. Other keywords are, I think, more intuitive and they make more sense, but this is just something that you have to learn. This is called frost. Okay, great. What seems good here? I think I would like to keep this formation. I'm gonna let Snoof hit into the goblin, and I'm gonna greed out, and I'm gonna get 1 more attack into the goblin, so that I'm gonna hit 2 hits, and then Bomb is gonna clean out this snowburb here. And this is a great time to teach you folks about recalling. This is a concept that I haven't explained yet. Okay. So what you can actually do is at any point during your turn, it does not cost your turn, is I can pick up my unit and actually put it back into my deck. This is going to replenish 5 HP and remove it of debuffs. So this is a case where Bomb can actually attack another time. I don't need to recall her, but she would go down to 1 HP. But if Bomb had any less HP, this would be a situation where I don't want Bomb to go off. So in order to prevent that, I would recall her, right? So I will demonstrate that actually now. So check that out. 5 HP healed, and she's going to go slip back into the deck, right? So that's a very valuable thing. I think the game will like force teach you that early on. There'll be like a little pop-up that says, hey, you know, you should recall your units. So I think you'll be covered there, but I wanted to make sure I covered that just in case. Okay, great. Let's hit our redraw bell here. There's our bling bang. So unfortunately we didn't get nearly as much money as we could have in this fight, but that's okay. We played it safe, we stabilized, and what you can see here is that this fight is all but done. So we definitely want to take the time to try to see if we can set up a multi-kill on these two, and we can at least get our bling bang down for sure. We can let Gojibber take this hit, it's not a problem. We can even get Woodhead down. We have plenty of turns, so we can do whatever we want here, really. Let's get 1 snow in here. Oh, I should talk about resist snow. This is an effect where a lot of bosses have this. So, yeah, snow sounds OP, and it is OP, but that's why they have this effect. So a lot of bosses will have resist snow. They can only have a maximum of 1 snow at all times. So there's the other shoe dropping, right? So, of course, in Snoof's case, it doesn't matter. He's only applying 1 snow, but in something like Snow Stick, where normally, you know, if I were to have this configuration, 3 snow would be applied. In this configuration, only 1 snow would be applied. Okay, so you can't rely it as a, you know, a win condition every single time. You do need to be mindful of this this effect. Okay, good. I think I'm just gonna go smack this boss around a little bit. Oh no, my bling bank. That's actually really funny. His effect can be applied to clunkers, so you can see this here, where obviously this doesn't do anything, but it's nice that my bling bank sort of absorbed that negative effect there. Because for all intents and purposes, this still counts as a unit, even if it doesn't have any sort of combat function. Okay, great. Smack the ringer around a little bit. Let's see if we can set up a multi-kill. There's Bomb Bomb, so you can see that her health got replenished a little bit, and she's ready to fight. Although in this board state, it's a little bit suspicious, right? It's too crowded for Bomb Bomb. She needs her space. So we definitely don't want to be having any sort of Bomb Bomb related mishaps in this fight. Let's not do that. Okay, we're taking 5. Here's a Woodhead example here. You can also use Bling back to tank, but obviously Woodhead is the expendable unit here, so we can do this. And yeah, not much else to say here. Okay, and this is where I will be setting up my multi-kill. So 2 is going onto the Frostinger, 3 is going onto the Ringer, so I can just simply do this. And I messed up. I It's good that I messed up. It's actually important that I mess up because, if you were an astute viewer, you may be able to see what happened. I hit the ringer, and his effect just so happened to knock my hero down to 0 attack effectively, and I was not able to hit that ringer, the enemy unit up here, and he got away. So that's a misplay on my part. I was too absorbed in everything else, and I lost my multi-kill there. So 100% could have been avoided, but yeah, it's just something to consider there. You can't get too complacent, right? Not a big deal, but if you're really to min-maxing there, it's something you want to be mindful of. And you're never down for the count just yet. Even though the fight's over, you can always squeeze additional value, right? Don't get too complacent, like I did. Okay, great. Where are we at? This video is already kind of long here. I feel like I should wrap things up now. Oh, I'm gonna go to the shop and wrap things up because this is very important that you see what a shop looks like. Okay. And we just keep going. This is just another crossroads, right? And you'll keep doing this a couple times, 5, 6, 7 times. You'll get to a final boss, you'll win, and everything is hunky-dory, okay? I need to talk about charms, I need to talk about shop, and it's a good thing we have both in the bottom, so that's great news. Okay. What do we got here? Ooh. Shell Shield. So if you remember Chomp Pomp, the unit I keep mentioning earlier, if I had that unit and apply Shield, he would be gaining attack from this effect as well. We have Slap Crackers, smack you around a little bit 4 times. We have Bite Box. He's a cool little clunker. He says whenever he's hit, he deals equal damage back to the attacker. Very, very nifty. Let's pick up Shell Shield here. Nice to get some additional defense. And now let's talk about charms. So this whole run, I haven't talked about charms at all. What are these guys? Okay. Okay, that's very funny. This is a very funny thing that just happened now. I will explain promptly. So charms are things that you can put on your units and your cards. They're very, very cool effects. What's funny is that I picked the charm that says apply the same effect as the last charm applied to the card. Now, of course, this is the very first charm, and you'll see here all these cards turn away saying, hey, you can't do this because this is your first charm. So, wow, it's very, very interesting odds that happened. I can't actually show you what a charm does because because of this thing. Okay, no worries. I will pick up a charm in this shop and I will explain it. But basically, they're like these little keychain sort of things. They will come over here in your deck that you can look at, and every card can have a maximum of 3 charms. Now, there is a charm that increases your charm limit, by the way. That's the exception. But normally, every card can have 3 charms. And these really are the things that, between runs, that will scale your units up in power by a lot, right? So, and your run can look very different from mine. Even if we have the same units, maybe you have different charms, right? So it's a very, very cool effect. The fact that you can put charms both on units and on items here is super neat. So maybe we had like a basic like attack charm, right? Or a battle charm that increases your attack by 2, right? We could throw it on a unit, or we could throw it on our sword maybe here, right? So a lot of neat things you can do with charms. We'll pick up some additional money here, and we will go to the shop. Now, shops in any sort of like, any roguelike like this is like where I spend a lot of time. This is where runs are won or lost. You really want to make, good use of your time and money, of course, at these intersections, right? So this is where you can spend your hard-earned blings, and we can talk about here first and foremost the crowns. Okay, sorry, this is like a lot of things that happen. This is not scripted, obviously, so a lot of things are happening at once that I will talk about. Crowns are something that are, I would say this is like the most powerful like kind of item in the game, so to speak. So what a crown does is that when you put this on a unit or a card, this is saying that you can play this unit for free at the start of every combat. So just like your leader, you can play for free. You can play any additional card. So I can take this off here. I could put if I wanted to, I could put this on Bling Bank here, right? So I can remove this card at will. And you'll even see here the leader actually kind of has like a little crown effect, saying that he's crowned by default, right? The leader obviously you have to play at the beginning of the run, and these crowns will give you that effect, right? So there is something later in the game, Cursed Crowns. It's like a crown that has a negative modifier where you cannot remove it. So once you put it on a card, it's a permanent decision. But that's something for later. That's sort of a bell effect, right? So this is a normal crown. You can add it and remove it at will, and then you can just throw this on and saying, hey, Bomb, I really want this turn 1. And yeah, it's a very, very powerful thing. Whenever you see this in a shop, your main goal basically in any shop is to pick up the crown. pick up the crown when you see it, and you'll go very far. Don't worry so much about the cards and the items. It's the crown is the most important thing. Okay? Great. We do have a smattering of items here. There'll always be one discounted item as well that you can pick up. But what's really fun is gambling. There is gacha in this game. There's a charm machine. So 3 times in every shop you can press this charm machine. It'll be a little bit more expensive every time. What's nice about this game is that when you hover over a purchase, you can see in the bottom left the deduction there. The math is spelled out for you, so you can see exactly how much money is going to be left over. So hopefully we got a playable charm here so I can show you how they work. Oh, okay, interesting. This is a new charm that was added recently. Sunglass charm. Reduce the counter by half, set my HP to 1, and I gain fragile. Max HP cannot be increased during battles. Okay, I was hoping for something a little simpler for the purposes of tutorial, but we'll take what we can get. So there are like very simple basic charms like, hey, +2 attack. And this is saying like 3 different effects, right? So is there any hero we want to put this on? Reduce by half. I'm pretty sure it rounds up here. So if I were to put this on Muckfall, it would go to 3 counter. I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's anyone I want to put this on. Certainly not Bomb Bomb. 1 HP Bomb Bomb that just instantly gets obliterated. Yeah, okay, probably not. But important thing to note is just like when you hold a charm, you can see exactly which units are valid for this charm. So you can see that because Gojibber doesn't have a counter like we talked about earlier, he's not a valid candidate for this charm. Okay, so unfortunately, we got a very unorthodox set of charms, so it's not something that I would probably play in a normal run here. I think I'll just leave them. And honestly, that's another point too. You want to try to save your charms for as long as possible, because you never know what sort of hits you're going to get, what sort of outs you're going to get later in the run, right? So you want to, when you get better, evaluate your deck's strength at every point in the run and saying, hey, do I think I can get past this next fight without committing resources? And if the answer is yes, then you should try to take that bet a lot of the time, because you want to see and hold out, and if there's a better unit or a better card for your charm, right? Now, of course, you know, early on, you might not have the knowledge to make that decision, and you want to try to maybe play it safer. You want to use your resources more often than not. I'm already pretty confident in my early game, especially with this Bomb Bomb pickup, and so I would just hold out on these. So honestly, at the beginning, don't let my sort of nuanced way of playing the game dishearten you. Just pick things, just pick any units, just play things, just have fun, just experiment. The whole purpose of this guide is to kind of, it's honestly just a look into my head more than anything, how I play and the way I think about things, because this is very helpful, because now that I've done this video, I can just kind of blitz out future Wildfrost videos and not yap so much. I can kind of just go through the video without explaining from the ground up things, and you know, you get an insight into my thought processes already in this video, right? So this is like groundwork. We've laid out some groundwork now, and yeah, I think that's it. Honestly, the video's already so long. I don't want to go. There's so much to do still. I really would have liked to show you this fight, but honestly, maybe the less I show you, the better. I want you guys to experience things for yourselves. And if you like this sort of thing, then I will do more. I'll do an actual full run for you guys. But I think for the purposes of instruction, we can call it here. Lots I covered. Very, very dense video. I know it's did a lot of talking. I'm going to try to like timestamp stuff if I can and segment stuff for you guys, so it's a little bit easier to digest. But yeah, that's like a beginner guide to get your foot out the door, talking about a lot of important concepts, right? So if there are questions you guys have, things I didn't cover, or, you know, maybe I covered too fast. I know I have a tendency sometimes to talk too fast. Please let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to clarify anything for you guys. And yeah, if you want to see more content for this game, please let me know. I will be happy to blitz out some runs for you guys. Okay, that's it. If you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. Hey, smash that bell and have a great rest of your day, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, it's me again, RuneHawk. I hope you enjoyed that video. This is just me going back and delivering on my promise from earlier, and I want to talk a little bit more about the pets if you guys are interested. So this is the pet screen. These are all the pets in the game, and right off the rip, I'm just going to tell you what the best pet in the game is. It's Spike. It's Spike, and it's not even close. Now, what does Spike do? He is a unit with 7 HP, and he has no attack value, but instead he has Teeth. So what Teeth does is that whenever Spike is attacked, he reacts back and he deals 2 damage. It's kind of like Smackback, a concept we covered earlier, but instead of that attack value being predicated off of something else, this is always a flat 2 damage back to the opponent, okay? And his effect is a -1. This is actually a effect called Hog-Headed, and it's saying he cannot be recalled. It's a minor negative effect. Honestly, it's not too big a deal, but all that being said, he still remains the best companion in the game universally. So why is that? Why is Spike the best pet? And I would say the biggest reason is that he makes you money in the early game. So because of the nature of his reactive ability, you'll have a lot of little enemies that are smacking into you, and Spike immediately can take the front lines and deliver you 2x, 3x, 4x multi-kills just right off the rip, right? You can walk away from fight 1 comfortably with $70, $80, $90, figures that you really couldn't achieve otherwise with other pets. So that really is the biggest reason why Spike is the best. But not only that, he is a tank. He doesn't look like it, only 7 HP, but he can absorb so many different enemy effects later in the game. He's a pet that not only is he good in the early game, but late game into certain fights as well. I don't want to get too much into the specifics, but like negative enemy effects where it's like, you know what, I will pull up just to give you some context because I shouldn't just talk. Let's talk about this one enemy unit that I'm specifically thinking about. It's this guy. So what this enemy unit does, it doesn't look that threatening with this attack value, but it has something called Haze. When Haze is applied to one of your guys, it's saying the next attack that you do is going to go onto an ally instead. So it's kind of like you're hitting your own allies. It's a very, very dangerous effect. But Spike can tank it no problem, because he only takes the 1 damage, and then because he doesn't have an attack value, he actually doesn't get affected by Haze, right? Another example is the little hogs. The little hogs. So these guys will scale up over the course of the fight. This guy gets wild, so he'll get frenzy, which is a multiplier, attack multiplier, anytime an allied card with wild gets killed. And in this particular fight, there's like there's a lot of them. It's a whole army of little hogs, right? Which can really start racking up the damage, right? They hit you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's another one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? It gets crazy. But Spike, because he will kill off these hogs off of the first hit, he's only taking the 1 damage, right? Regardless of the frenzy multiplier, he just takes the 1 damage, moves on to the next hog. He just eats them up for breakfast, right? So there's so many little interactions like that throughout the course of the game that Spike is just like hard counters, right? That's why he's the best pet, okay? Now, if you don't want to play Spike, I think there are valid use cases for pretty much every pet. And so for example, if your hero, if your starting leader is a smackback leader, I think it's very, very viable to play Bushu, because you're generating value off of your hero's health, right? You want to try to keep that health high so your hero can keep attacking. And Bushu simply says, hey, every 5 turns I'll give you guys a heal, right? And healing really is a rare commodity in this game. It's very difficult to actually come by healing without going out of your way sometimes, and having healing built into your kit right off the rip, guaranteed, makes playing a smackback hero a lot more viable. You get a lot more mileage out of that. So that's Bushu's value. I would say in the Clunkmasters clan, Sneasel is a perfectly viable option. There's a lot of situations where you really want additional card draw. Sneasel helps you with that. He's kind of like Spike in that he doesn't attack back, but he gives you card draw. Very, very strong in that regard. Maybe there's a use case for Lil Ghazi here in Shademancer's, the clan that summons little units. Maybe if you have like a Shademancer leader that has like a 2x multiplier and you're playing, a clan that has a lot of little units, then maybe I could see a use case for Ghazi here. I'm stretching a bit, really. It really is Spike's world for me personally. I would say Spike is solid. Sneasel's very good in Clunkmasters. Bushu's good if you're playing Smackback. Snoof honestly is a very solid unit. You can use them all throughout. I said earlier, but Snow is a concept that scales, or it rather has strong returns no matter the point you are in the run. So Snoof is very solid. Loki, I think, is underrated. I don't have a lot of personal experience with Loki, but I actually think this Demonize effect is very strong. The downside is this is aimless, so it hits a random target in the row. So you may have to do some like board manipulation, go out of your way. There are ways to manipulate the enemy board, right? You can like sometimes physically move them. You can kill certain enemies to manipulate their position. It's a little bit tricky. You're not always going to get to do that, but in the cases where you can make use of that or mitigate the downside of this aimless, Demonize is very powerful. If you have like a hard hitting leader, he doesn't go very often, but when he goes, he hits hard, right? And doubling that could be really effective, right? So yeah, hit or miss, but there's definitely some mileage there. Binku, Binku is the newest addition to the squad for the last update. Very, very cute. And honestly, ink is a very powerful effect. It's just that there's so many instances where this will do nothing. Like, there's a lot of enemies where their value doesn't come from their card text. It comes from simply just like raw numbers where Binku's not going to do anything. And you have to make sure you try to get ink value on the turn that he attacks, right? He only attacks, he only applies ink, of course, on the turn that he attacks, right? So if you can't get value right then and there, specifically on an enemy unit in the front line, then it's like, you know, you're not doing anything with this pet, right? Otherwise, he's just smacking you for 2 and he only has 5 HP, right? So, yeah. That's my thoughts on the pets. I think when in doubt, pick Spike. But honestly, all the pets are more or less viable. Please play whatever you like. Please have fun. And don't let me dissuade you from your personal preference. That is all. That's the pet section. If you have questions about any of that or any of the video at all, yeah, please leave a comment below. Okay, second outro, done. Goodbye. Farewell. I love you.